We have Michael Notar on, the new superintendent of schools for about 2 weeks now.
Yeah, about 2 weeks. Yeah.
So how are things going so far?
Going very, very well. Actually got to work with our building principals last week a couple of days, and had a meeting a couple of days ago and another one this morning, so it's going very well.
And there was a reception?
Yes. Suzanne Bernardini, one of our board members, did a fabulous job. She organized a community reception, inviting staff members and their families in for about an hour and a half, and then community members and friends and family for about an hour and a half after that. So it was a great way to start putting some faces with names, and she did an excellent job, and her and the rest of the board members. So it was a great evening. It really was.
You're going to have to learn a lot of names.
Yeah.
But that goes with the territory. My wife was a teacher for 100 or 200 years. And everywhere we go, there's like people come up and say something to her, and it's like, I had her as a student, I had him as a student, but I can't remember who it is.
Yeah, and especially too when you've been in a couple different school districts, you'll see former students.
And was that
then you try to match their name with which district you're in. So
yeah, I can imagine that can be kind of a problem, or not a problem is the word for it, but. So can you give us a little bit of background on your education and how it all started?
Sure. Grew up and graduated from Brookfield High School down in Trumbull County, right down Route 7.
It was like a perennial of our first football games for a while there.
Yeah,
Every year kind of started with Brookfield.
Okay. And after graduation, after graduating from Brookfield, went on to YSU, got my bachelor's degree in education. Upon graduation, I took a teaching job on the western part of Ohio, and a real small town called Ottoville. We had about a population, a little over 1,200 people in the town. Very, very small town. It was a great way to start off in education. And taught there for a few years. Took another position teaching first grade at a neighboring school district, because my goal when getting into education was to teach and eventually become an elementary principal. And
you were interested in the teaching the younger kids.
Yeah, and I felt the more grade levels that I taught would make me a little bit more experienced when I would become an elementary principal. So started off teaching 5th and 6th grade, taught first grade, coached high school girls volleyball, high school boys baseball for a couple of years. During that time, I went and got my master's degree from the University of Dayton in educational administration. Had the opportunity to move back to the area, taught for a few years at South Range, taught 3rd grade, and then that's after about 7 years of teaching, I was able to get into administration. So I've been an elementary principal, a high school principal, a business manager, and now superintendent. So.
And you were superintendent in Warren?
Superintendent in Warren the past 2 years, was the business manager there for a couple of years, and the superintendent the past 2 years.
Okay. And then you came here. Now, you got a little smirk on your face because you know the next question. You are taking a bit of a pay cut to come to a smaller district. Yeah. So.
Well, and I when we had the community reception the other evening, I had shared this both with staff members and community members as well. I'm one, money isn't everything. It's all about happiness and making sure you're happy in what you do in your job, and your kids are happy. When I was back being a high school principal back in Iowa City Schools, my way of life hasn't changed since then. So the money situation wasn't a problem for me. So taking a pay cut, that really wasn't my concern. It was a matter of finding a school district that would fit me both personally and professionally, a district that I felt that I could work well with the Board of Education, the teachers, and most importantly make a difference in our students and their education. So it was a great fit. I noticed that after the first interview, and kind of reminds me again of Brookfield and where I grew up and graduated. So that's what I'm used to, and so it's nice to be back.
Well, tell us how it's a good fit. What were you looking for that Conneaut had?
Again, coming up for my first interview, and I had said this before, pulling through town, it was nice. You kind of got that hometown atmosphere and that feeling, and seeing some of the, just looking down some of the streets and some of the homes, and it brought back a lot of childhood memories. It really did. You know, growing up, we didn't have a whole lot of money, and so our summer vacations were packing up the camper and going camping. You know, in Pymatuming and up here in Conneaut. So it's been a while since those years.
So you are somewhat familiar with Conneaut.
Yeah, somewhat familiar with the area because we spent all summer. Because again, not having the money, our vacation was camping every summer. So, and I enjoyed it, and so it's nice, and I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
So tell us about your family. Do you have a family that's going to relocate here? Or?
Yeah, you know, and I shared this with the board. My son's 17. He's going to be a senior. I currently live in the Youngstown area. They go to Boardman schools. Both of them have gone there since kindergarten.
So you have a son and?
A son and a daughter.
Okay.
My son's 17. He'll be a senior. My daughter is 13, and she's going to be in 8th grade. So my house in the area is currently up for sale. You know, part of this decision, every decision I've made, and I shared this with the community the other day, has always been, I've always involved my children in that decision because it's very, very important that they're happy, just not me being happy at what I do, but them as well. And I did promise them that, and I shared this with the board, that they could, you know, finish up their last year where they go to school. I'm currently looking for, you know, a place up here to live, but again, I have to sell my home in that area. And we'll see how things go. If my house doesn't sell, then I'm going to get something up here to get me through to the springtime until hopefully my house would sell. So my son, you know, he has one more year. He'll graduate and be off to college. And my daughter knows, and I've talked with her about that you know, she'll be switching schools at the end of 8th grade and starting fresh in high school, and she's okay with that. And so that's important.
Well, she would be switching schools anyway, so I mean,
right.
What
So it's a great break.
it's a good segue for her.
Yeah.
So, do you like the lake and that sort of?
Yeah, I do. You know, again, growing up, I was originally born in Pennsylvania. A lot of my cousins, you know, I actually had a couple sisters that graduated from Sharpsville, so you know, lived out by Shenango Dam and out in the country, lived in our grandparents' home. So, you know, we did a lot of hunting and fishing and things back in those days. So it's been a while because, you know, growing up through Brookfield and moving on after that into college and then living in the city, I've been away from that for a while. So it's nice to be back and see those things and you know, just this area in particular. It's beautiful up here, and I don't think people realize that, how beautiful it is up here and how fortunate people are.
I don't know about this area specifically, but I know somebody that comes in from California all the time and says, it's just so much greener here.
It is. It's very, very relaxing. You know, when I first got the job, the first couple of days, I went down to the lake just to sit there and look at it, and it's very relaxing. And it, you know, when you sit there and reflect, and it's there's a calmness to it. So it's a great feeling.
Yeah. Anything particular that you want to do with the schools? Focuses, changes?
Yeah, you know, anytime you take over, especially being a superintendent in the district, you know, I'm not one that I'm going to come in and start making changes without having any input or some dialogue with our board members, our principals, and especially our teachers. So, you know, going into this school year, again, we've had a great couple meetings with our building administrators, looking at some areas that we need to improve upon, what has worked in the district, what hasn't. Once school gets started, that's my focus, is to get into the schools, start talking with our teachers, start working with our building leadership teams, our district leadership team, and starting that collaboration with our administrators and teachers, and getting some feedback also from the community and from parents to see where we are, where we want to be. And you know, I've always stressed to people that it's just not me, it's just not our administrators and our teachers, it's all of us working together, our teachers, our students, our family members, even people in the community who may not even have students in the district.
Right.
Their input is very, very valuable. So.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, sometimes I think people think that it's, if the child isn't doing well, it has to be the teacher, it has to be the principal, but the parents have to carry their share of the load on this.
Yeah, it's all of us, and I understand that, being a single parent raising 2 kids, it's, you know, I have to do my part as a parent and, you know, make sure they're doing their schoolwork, work with them. So, you know, all our time is very limited nowadays, especially a lot of the homes where both parents are working, or some of our single parent homes. So I understand that, I see that, being a single parent and working a lot of hours, but I always have to make sure that I carve out time for my kids, because my input, my guidance is very, very important in how they're going to be successful in school. So it's just that working relationship between the parents, the community, and the school district working together.
I think things like reading to your kids early, taking time out for that sort of thing, and getting them interested in kind of a lifelong pursuit of learning is...
Yeah. And you know, and not only that, I think a lot of it is just your interaction with your kids. You know, I remember growing up, we, you know, having dinner together, and now it's hard to do that, because of everyone's so busy. And actually, we always make a joke of it, but sometimes you have to check your kid's schedule to see when as a parent you can talk with them. But,
oh yeah.
But I think just that interaction with your kids, and you know, doing things with them, or just having a conversation with them, just to be a part of their lives, to know that, you know, so little things like that do go a long way.
Tell us about your impression about the Spark complex. That did that attract you to the area, or?
Well, you know, when the job was posted, obviously you start doing your research before you even apply. You know, you take a drive up, you do some research on the internet, you look at the district and where they are financially, academically, the community, and so forth. Because especially for me in my career, this is a district, and I've shared this with the board and the community, that I've been in a number of different districts and positions. All of them have been very beneficial. I've learned a lot, but I'm at a point in my career where I want to settle into a community, be a part of it for a long period of time. So when applying for this position, that was an important part in my decision, somewhere that I feel that I would be happy, I could make a difference and stay for a long period of time. So once I came up and went over to the complex, it was unbelievable. I mean, they've done a fabulous job. The contributors that have helped out with the development of that complex, and it's absolutely beautiful when you drive down there. And now that the track is completed, it's you know, and that's a great thing for our community, is to have that something that they can go and exercise in a safe place, and
right.
So and again, it's going to grow, and it's going to get bigger and better, which is great too. So it's a great central piece for not only our students, but most importantly our community as well.
Yeah, I think when you realize this is not a particularly wealthy community by any standpoint, and there is, you probably saw some of it, a certain degree of negativity about things, but to see what has been accomplished there, all with donations, not with taxpayer money. And it's kind of been embraced by the community too, I think, because I mean, I've gone down there and there's always somebody down there walking, or it's like, it's there, I'm going to take advantage of it.
Exactly, and that's true. You know, it's tough in today's economy. I think that is a prime example of how people came together for something that is good for the community, and sends a positive message throughout the community that working together, we can develop and make some beautiful things for not only our community but our kids as well. So,
okay. Michael Notar is with us. He's the new Conneaut School Superintendent, been on the job about 2 weeks, and we will be back in just a minute. Michael Notar, the new school superintendent, is here, and as we've been promising, Penny Armini is here.
Good morning, it's Thursday.
Cue applause.
Yeah.
It is Thursday.
It's Thursday.
And Penny is the director of the Conneaut Arts Center, and they do a lot of things there. They do plays, they have monthly art exhibits, they do dance, they do wood carving, they have a summer camp, all kinds of stuff.
Yep, concerts, you name it. We
Concerts on Sunday nights. And you kind of come at a good time for a couple different reasons. We have a new theater opening on Buffalo Street called Broadway on Buffalo, and there'll be some plays there and different things. You're coming around D-Day time, so you should bring the kids up and give them
yeah, D-Day is quite an experience.
Yeah.
It really is. It's
you got to be a little patient driving around, but
yeah, and get gas before you come. So I tell everybody, do not expect to get gas on Sunday. But it's bigger than you think, and the history involved is tremendous. I think it should be required so that kids understand what, you know, people went through for us to be free.
Yeah.
So it's really really has a big life this year because it's the 70th anniversary. And I know there's 1,500 reenactors signed up to
I heard
come,
that the other night.
which is huge, which is absolutely huge.
Compared to, I thought there were a lot last year with 800. This is
Yeah,
almost
it's
twice
almost
that many.
doubled.
Yeah, it really has.
See, a
And-
math teacher taught me that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, you know, it's really, there are a lot, you'll,
Yep.
it takes a year or two to, you know, get into the community and see everything that goes on, and, you know, it really, you know, it does.
Yeah.
It's you've got to take that first cycle to see what's going on, but it's exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
You had the reception the other night, but have you otherwise, been greeted well by people?
Yeah, very well. I mean, like I said, the reception was great, but even the past couple weeks prior to the reception, just getting out and about and meeting people, and people stopping in the board office and introducing themselves, and it was just nice to even. Yesterday we went to the high school for our pictures, and got to see all the athletes there in their uniforms.
Oh.
So it was nice to be able to interact with some of the students, and that was the best part of the community reception, where the kids that were there was a couple students that presented me with a couple pictures that they have drawn themselves. So that's the best part of it.
Yeah.
So that's what makes me happy. Yep.
So you think you'll be hanging around some classrooms and?
Yeah, definitely. I always said sometimes when you have a stressful day, it's nice to pop into a kindergarten classroom.
Oh, yeah.
But that's my philosophy is particularly as a superintendent, it's hard to make changes if you don't know what's going on in the classroom. So, I'm a firm believer in getting into the schools, working with our principals, being in the classrooms, seeing what's taking place and what's going on with our teachers and our students, and that way it's easier to make a decision when you actually see those things,
Right,
and you work
an
with
informed
it hands-on.
decision.
Mhm.
You also have the added advantage of having your outgoing superintendent there.
Yeah. Kent's been a great guy, ever since I've got board approved. He's worked very, very well with me. He's been in the district a long time, has done a tremendous job at what he has done in the past, and makes my job a lot easier coming in and things. There's a solid foundation to build upon. So, I appreciate all his help that he's done. He's going to be here for the next couple of months, which makes it a lot easier too. Somebody that's been in the district that can, help me and introduce me to people that he knows, that to develop those relationships.
I wanted to, and Penny can get in any time,
Okay,
but nobody else.
I'm listening.
Oh, by the way, I never look at this thing to see if the phone's ringing. If you want to call in, call in. We're ready to go. I don't have it covered up with a piece of paper, and I remember to turn. There's a button in there you got to turn on. And I'm in here one day and I'm saying, "Give us a phone call," and there's nobody there. And I realize there's a little button over there. Yeah, Jim's gonna call us up. So anyway, but the line's there, and if it flashes, we'll pick it up. Anyway, there was a column, and I'm definitely not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read the first sentence of syndicated columnists about the. Oh, hey, we'll take a phone call. Hello, you're on the air.
Good morning, Penny. Good morning, Bob. Hi,
morning.
Mr. Notar.
Good morning.
This is Matt Crawford calling. I just wanted the public to know that I had spoken to Mr. Notar about continuing the support that we've received from Ken Houston for the Outdoor Learning Center.
Yes.
And he is very open to the idea of, supporting us. Not financially. I've never asked the school board for financial support, but for letters of recommendation for grants that we apply for. And Mr. Houston always came to our events that we've had. And Mr. Notar has shown his interest in supporting us the same way that Mr. Houston had. So we're very happy for that support, and we look forward to meeting with them and getting to know them better.
Is that on school property? It is, isn't it?
Oh yes, that's absolutely all school property. Yeah.
So he could have told you to get out. No, I know they wasn't going to do that.
We have an open invitation for him and his family, and however he wants to work it, we'd be more than happy to show him around.
Okay.
Look forward to getting to work with him. That's all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Alrighty, bye then.
Bye.
You know, that's a wonderful thing to have there, because there's kids that take school buses, you know, a trip just to see everything that's right there. And he's already done so much of the work by
Yes.
labeling everything, and that it's so nice having it right there. You don't have to get on a bus and drive to the metro parks or any
And
place
there's
like that.
little cards that tell you what all of the different
Yeah.
stuff is.
Yeah,
And I spoke to him the other night, and so I told him I'd give him a call once things settle down, and we're going to take a personal walk through the trail so he can kind of show me around. So
and that might be the place that you go when you're stressed.
yeah.
You might need that in the middle of winter.
You're
You might
never
need
gonna
that
get
bench
stressed.
cleared off.
There's not going to be anything stressful about this
Yeah.
job.
No, there never is when you're dealing with kids and teachers and parents.
But yeah, it is. That's a nice area where the middle school and the elementary school gateway were built. I know. My daughter-in-law taught there. My wife taught there too. But my daughter-in-law taught there several years ago, and she's since come back to the district, and she's at Gateway now. But she used to be at Conneaut Middle School, and her classroom fronted the woods. And you look out there, and there's deer and stuff standing there. So
it's
that's
beautiful.
Yeah, that is nice. That really is. Very.
kind of an educational thing right there.
Mm-hmm.
But the outdoor learning center is nice, and it's they've got pamphlets there and explain things and you know where things are and all.
Well, and the amount of work that Matt has put in,
Yeah.
and, you know, and the fact that it is right there by the school, and it's
It's a great
no
place
cost
for it.
to the school system.
Right.
It's something that they can utilize. You know, lessons. You know, you're learning about plants and leaves, and I remember my kids having to do the leaf project where, you know, you had to identify all the different leaves and, you know, do all that, and, you know, they can just take a walk right there, you know, out into the woods, and it's just I think, a really nice thing that Matt does.
This is a column that I had read, and it's a national column, so it doesn't pertain specifically to Ohio, but it talks about testing. And maybe part of the reason I'm interested in this is I've got a grandson that's going to school. He's going to Kingsville. And I said something to my wife, who's a retired teacher. I said, oh, if they're going to have grandparents' lunches. And, you know, boy, we're going to have this time grandparents with Christmas programs. And my wife says, they don't have those a whole lot anymore. And I don't know specifically what schools, but she says a lot of them, you know, they're so involved in testing and stuff, and that's pretty much what the school's about. So I don't... So, I got to think back on it. So let me read just the first paragraph of this guy's column, and maybe we can talk about it. The problem with a lie, even one that everyone agrees with, is that eventually you can't ignore the truth. Enron can't paper over debt and crashes. The housing bubble pops. Now, as the rush toward using standardized test scores to evaluate teachers turns into a retreat, it might be time to face the fact that standardized tests are a lousy way to hold schools accountable. Now, I'm not saying that's exactly true or not, but it kind of opens up discussion. Is that are we trying to shove enough information down the kids' throats so that they pass the test and we look good with the state, or are they truly learning? So I'll just sit back for the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, there's no doubt in education we've made a shift over the past couple of years, obviously with the new you know, content standards, and you know, being in education 21 years, being a classroom teacher and an administrator, you know, there's always changes. So it's hard to get buy-in sometimes, and I know that because things always change. You know, recently, you know, we know our administrators and our teachers are stretched very thin time-wise as far as getting all the material in that they need to teach during the course of the school year. And so, you know, in discussion with some of those things, such as in Grandparents' Day or bringing things in, you know, sometimes those things do get pushed to the side because you're trying to cram so much work and information in a short period of time. You know, there's no doubt that, you know, obviously it's not our decision, but a change in education as far as evaluating our students and our teachers both to make sure that students are successful. And you know, the last couple of years, the change in our state report card where school districts were ranked as far as excellent or continuous improvement, and now they're rated on a report card grade. And there's a lot of factors going in. What a lot of people are looking at, or what the state is looking at, is student growth. And what that means is when a child comes into your classroom on day one, where are they at the end of the school year? And the best way to explain that to parents and community members is, like, take my son for example. He'll get an A the first 9 weeks, he gets an A the fourth 9 weeks, but did he really learn anything, or did he just get an A because he can achieve at those levels? Now with student growth, you measure kids where they come in, and then you see periodically, are they growing academically based through periodic assessments. So there's been a shift with creating SLO, student learning outcomes, also looking at performance-based assessments, and the change in testing itself. Growing up, testing has changed in the last couple of years. It has, with the adoption of the end of the year course exams, which go into effect this school year with our incoming freshmen. And then we also know with the third grade guarantee, with our third grade students at least being at a third grade level in reading by the end of third grade, and if not, providing interventions to get them up there. So it's been a shift. It's been a shift for our teachers and our building principals, not only with the new Common Core, but also the new types of testing that are out there. It's just a way of, we have to get to a point where we feel comfortable, not only as a state, but as individual districts, and making sure that we have a good understanding of what we're doing, and everything is organized so we can maximize our classroom time with our students.
Yeah, I'm sure there has to be a measurement, a barometer of, are the parents, teachers, administrators doing their jobs. But I can remember in college learning the five, I think there was 5 aspects of the Missouri Compromise, but I can't tell you what they are. And do kids today that are learning the state stuff, can they tell you when they get out, I don't know, when the Civil War was, or what 9 times 8 is? And there's certain things, how to balance a checkbook, why you don't go to payday loan companies.
Well, let me, this is my thought on testing. How does the state account for the variables in school districts? Because obviously if you take our district as opposed to Cleveland district, then you have different economic family or backgrounds the kids are coming from. You have kids coming with different ethnic backgrounds, where some groups cherish education, and it's an important part of their family and their heritage. And then there are families and situations where they send them to school because they have to. It's not important. But how does the state recognize that? Because I think you could have the best teacher in the world, and if you have a group, and every year your children change. Every year you get a group of kids. Those kids are different kids. They're coming from a different place than the year before. How does the state adjust for that?
Well, obviously with the changes in the evaluations, because it was in the article, with both our principals and our teachers are evaluated under, in Conneaut, our teachers were actually, because of race top district, they were actually evaluated this past school year. And what you had stated is our teachers now and our building principals is 50% of their evaluation is based upon their performance, and then the other 50% is based upon student growth measures and the students' performance.
Each year. This happens each year.
Each year. Well, it varies based upon board policy, and where teachers rank, because there's rankings of ineffective, developing, skilled, and accomplished. So depending on where you fall as far as a ranking, the state has changed it where accomplished could be, every other year skilled. So. And that changes, that's ongoing, so we have to look at our policy every time the state makes a change. What I can say, the good thing about the new evaluation system is, because being a building principal, I did evaluations in the past, and sometimes they were the last thing that you got to because you had other factors more important. I don't want to say more important, but you had other things that you had to handle.
More pressing.
Yeah, right. But now it is time consuming, the new system, without a doubt, because, but the good thing about it is it's developing that collaboration between the building principal, the evaluator, and the classroom teacher themselves. Being able to sit down, talk about a lesson, go in, look at a lesson, do some periodic classroom walkthroughs, have a post-conference, and really have that dialogue, which a lot of times that didn't happen in the past. So that's the good thing about it. You know, there's always going to be that question, is that fair that the student's performance, 50% of that is based upon the teachers?
Well, because to me it would seem reasonable, like a 3-year span, because you could have a great class, and then you could have the next year you could have, you know, it's just the nature of people. I'm not, you know, it just, you could be in the wealthiest school in the state, and the next year you have a class that's just not a good performing class. The kids in that class are just not good performers, and you're the same teacher, but yet you're being evaluated on that classroom. Is there dialogue between your principal and you saying, you know, gosh, you know, I'm doing the same thing I did last year. This is where I was last year. This year, I can't achieve even close to that because of, you know, my classroom. Is there, is that allowed? Is there a variable in there somewhere?
Yeah, and I think that's where, you know, your student growth measures is a factor. And like I said, where students come in, what I care about, and what, you know, the philosophy behind it is, when a student comes in at this level, where are they at the end of the year? Each individual student, not as a class.
Okay.
Because we all know students come to us in, you know, from all different backgrounds, and you know, your classroom is made up of high, middle, and low level students, different backgrounds, different socioeconomic backgrounds, nationalities, and so forth. So the key is where that student comes in, where can we get them by the end of the year and show growth? And you know, districts have done that, buildings have done that, and again, a lot of that is as administrators, as a superintendent, getting into the classrooms, providing support for our teachers, providing support for not only them but also our students who are falling behind. What are some things that we can put in place intervention wise to get them to where they need to be, and really focus on them as an individual student. So you know, there's more time spent on that, which is good. More time spent working with our teachers and providing them with some professional development to make them better teachers, because we all want to grow, you know, professionally. So when you look at it that sense, it's a little bit easier to accept it and jump into and start.
Because I know a lot, you know, a lot of times in conversations with people today, and of course there's always misconceptions unless you're a part of the system. You know, if I'm sitting on the outside and someone says, okay, now there's going to be another test, you know, and you're on the outside and you don't understand all that. That's why I'm asking you your opinion about that, because that's what I hear from people is kids go to school today and the only thing they do worry about is testing, because it's that state grade, it's all about the money, it's all about this, it's all about that. And there's a lot of controversy in there. There's a lot of conversation about that amongst people that have children in school or grandparents, but that's because they're all on the outside looking in.
You know, and you get the increase in testing. Obviously, when we were in school, we almost went all year, and then we took the test at the end of the year. You know, the reason for the increase in testing is because when you want to see student growth, you just don't measure them at the beginning and the end, because you have to see where they are in between.
See if you have to catch up somewhere.
Correct.
Yeah. So they don't fall through the crack during the year. Yeah.
How is Conneaut schools right now in comparison to other schools, and where would you want them to be?
You know, obviously, when looking at the opening for the position, it's easy to go into a district that's an excellent school district and they've got A's on everything.
Except you have to maintain it then.
What
happened here?
You know, when the job opening came and I took a look at the district and seen some of the scores, you know, there's some areas that they're very, very strong in. There's some areas that we need to make some improvements on. I've began those dialogue with our building principals on how can we make some improvements in those areas, what's lacking in the district, that we can, whether it's support for our students, support for our teachers, whether it's you know, a different math program, literacy program, what is it that we need to start looking at. So we've begun those conversations, but again, I got to get in and talk to those classroom teachers as well and see what actually is working well and what isn't working well. So, you know, that there's some positive things definitely that has happened in the districts, and that shows on the last report card. And there's some areas where we need to improve, which is a good thing.
Right.
You don't always want to be where you're always at the top, you know, like you said, and it's a matter of maintaining it, but it's always nice to look at areas that, hey, what can we do here to get us moving in the right direction? So, and that's what attracted me to the district too, is being able to be in a smaller district and really work hands-on with our principals and our teachers and focus on those areas. Maintain the areas that we're doing very, very well in, and the areas that we need some help in, how are we going to get there together? So.
One other thing, I know you have to go, but we discussed this a little bit after you were named superintendent, is you're a former coach, we're not in a league, what are you going to do for us?
Well, you know, and I had said this before, obviously I was the superintendent in Brookfield. That's when the All-American Conference was formed. I was one of those superintendents, one of the several superintendents that, you know, put together the bylaws, organized the tiers and so forth. Being the superintendent in Warren the last couple of years, they were always a part of the Lake Erie League, which was very difficult traveling to Cleveland for most of their events. And we were able in the last 2 years get Warren into the All-American Conference, and they added a top tier, adding some different school districts. So the All-American Conference is a wonderful conference, and I'm not saying that because I was part of that group that organized it, but a lot of great school districts in there, a lot of some good competition. So I'm going to begin those conversations with Rick King with the All-American Conference and those superintendents. A lot of those individuals I know, I'm friends with a lot of them, so hopefully with those relationships. And I always stress that the bottom line is what's best for our kids. And I know all those superintendents in Trumbull and Mahoning County, you know, they make decisions on what's in the best interest of kids. And so we'll begin those discussions, and my goal is to hopefully they'll give Conneaut a consideration as we move forward. And I'm actually in the process of, you know, drafting the letter up and getting that sent in to see if they'll take us as far as considering us into the league. So, and that would be great for our community, great for our kids.
Yes.
And I think without a doubt that Conneaut, with our new complex, with the Spark project, we're going to have a wonderful facility, one of the best facilities around without a doubt, and we can offer that to other school districts coming up as well. But just knowing the community, knowing our parents and our students, we're a great school district to come into that conference and provide some competition, and our student athletes to show what good role models they really are.
Okay.
Good. That'll be
Very good.
exciting.
Yeah.
That'll be very exciting.
Lots of exciting stuff coming ahead.
Yeah.
So.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Well, we know you've got to get going here, but we appreciate you stopping
I
in.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Michael Notar, the new school superintendent, you'll be seeing him around. And in a good way.
Yeah. Yep.
And we thank you for stopping in.
Thank you.